Hi guys, I've done the draw. I'm on late 2 at Makins on the Wednesday Open. I'm quite happy with my draw. I'm on A9 on the A bank obviously, and it is one of my favourite pegs this. Well, times before I've fished this peg, I think I've won the last couple of times I've drawn it, over quite a space of time this is. I've won both matches, and it's a two-prong attack really for me here today. I'm going to start fishing to the near point, which is the island going to my right, and I think during the day that could dry up. So then I've got a longer chuck right over onto the first island on Lake 2, which is just about double the range. But what ain't going to make it any easier is normally the wind's off your back here, so you'd be really good at casting in the long range, but there's fish just top there, just off the point. So I'm going to use all my might to get it over there later in the day. Hopefully that won't dry up and I can catch fish all there all day. But also I've got another plan. Got a bit of room to my left. Peg 8's not in, the next peg is lammy down on peg A6, which I'd sooner have drawn to be honest. So last hour, well sort of halfway through the match, I'm going to fill it quite heavy down the margin and under armour feeder there if I see any tails come up, which I expect to because it's got some room. The wind, although it's not very strong, it's coming in on this bank, so there's a good chance of me catching some bigger fish there later on. So with that said, I'm going to get all my kit down on the platform, get clipped up and get ready to start fishing. So I've got my kit ready, I'm even clipped up, ready to start. So the next thing to do is prepare the bait, the feeder pellets, and also what I'm going to tell you about my expanders I'm using today. It's just the two things here today, really simple. 2mm fishery pellets, which soak up, very similar to the Fin Perfect pellets that I'm really confident with. So I've got no problems there. So what I've done before I've left the house is soaked 2.5 bags of the Makins Fishery pellets, which are there in my bucket. And what I've done, I've levelled them with water. And while I've been driving here and done the draw, they've been soaking it up nicely. And you can see when you look inside there, they've gone dry and set. So I'm not one for straining the water off after 2 minutes like a lot of lads do. I prefer to get all the water in it at the start and just forget about them basically until they're soaked everything up. And then all I do then, you can see this is the first time I've attended them since the soaking process. I'm just going to get in with my hands and break. It's like set like a cake and break it all up. And you'll see it goes really lumpy for a start. And get my hand right in the mid, right in the bottom of there, and you can see, look, there's lumps in that. But all you need to do is just with your hands. You don't need a riddle or anything like that. That's another reason why it's rare to use ground bait these days. Just use pellets. And just a minute or two, just getting rid of the lumps. You can see they're all going down to nothing. And it's a really heavy, you can see how much water in there. I mean, by straining them off with a riddle, like a lot of people do, it's nowhere near this heavy. You know, there's a lot of water in there. But what's really important by this method of preparing pellets is that it's done in a big vessel, if you like, a bucket. And what that does, it allows the pellets to swell up as a soak, which is very important. Even if it's winter time and you're soaking pellets, just a small amount of pellets, you're not going to use probably more than a pint when it's really hard in the winter, when the water's cold. You still need to soak them in a bucket, in the bottom of a bucket. You know, not like a bait box or a small bait box like a lot of anglers do, because you can imagine when they're trapped in a small bait box, even though they've got water in them, you know, level them with water like I've done with these, because they're trapped inside a small bait box, they're not going to be able to expand. They'll soak the water up the same, but they're not going to expand. And that's really what you want to happen. You can see now these have been soaking in a large bucket, that they've expanded a lot. You know, some of them pellets are 3 getting on for 4 mil because they've had chance to expand because they're in a big bucket. And what that does, when you compress the bait on a method with a mould, it's the sponginess of the pellet that makes them expand, and you get the right action when the feeder's in the water. You know, the last thing you want to be doing is not giving them enough water, trapped in a bait box as a soak, and then you end up cramming them on the feeder, you know, using excessive force, and they stop on the feeder longer, and you're not getting the action that you need to off a spongy 2 mil pellets. So I find that really important. Now, as I've already said, the Makins pellets are soak up really good, and I'm really confident in using them, but to me they're not quite sticky enough. They do hold together, but it's not long before the sponginess, which I've already talked about, you know, makes them break up, which is fine, but they're still not really sticky enough when using a mould on the method. So what I like to do, and I've done it for years, and I really think wouldn't be confident at all by using the method without this. It's the ground bait and pellet binder, it was formerly called, but now we've changed the name to just a ground bait binder. And all it is a cereal, a really sticky cereal powder. And I'd go nowhere method fishing without a bag of this. I think it's really important to add to pellets that aren't really sticky enough for the method. Again, it depends on the type of 2 mil pellet you're using. Some are sticky enough, but others aren't so, and these are ideal because they're not that sticky and they expand like I've already talked about, and you can tailor how sticky they are by adding this. So the way I go about adding this is to already soak the pellets like I've done and broke them up so they're nice and light. Well, they're not light, they're heavy with water, but they're dry to the touch and spongy, which is ideal for the method. It's really important to me, the way I fish the method. So to make them stickier, I'm going to put a fair helping of this. You don't need a full bag, nothing like, you'll end up with a load of glue if you do that. But strangely enough, over the years I've been using this binder, I've never really quantified the batching between the 2 mil pellets and the binder. I just sprinkle it in until I think it's about right. Go on the light side for a start. You don't want it too sticky, but you should know yourself when you've got it right, and I do obviously because I fish the method, you know, a lot more often than any other method these days, because I do really well on the method, keep really consistent in these matches, and you know, I know what I'm doing now. So I've got about 2.5 bags of the Makins 2 mil pellets in the bucket, and for that amount I'd say I need something like a light sprinkling over the entire surface. Not loads, you can see by that. I've just covered the pellets with the binder, and this needs going in. Don't put this in before you add the water or whilst you add the water in. This needs to go on the pellets after they've soaked all the water up so they're fairly dry. And I'd say that's a basic rule of the amount of binder to put with 2 mil pellets. The quantity by that I mean, you know, even if you are using a smaller vessel to soak your pellets in, which I wouldn't recommend, you know, always use a bucket, just lightly sprinkle the binder over it till it covers the pellets, and then what you want to do then is just first of all mix it all in so it's evenly distributed over the pellets, and then you've got to work it in, and all that means is to start forming balls with it and press it in. What this does, it presses the binder in and the more you do this, the stickier it gets. And they break up dead easy, like I already have done. And just spend a couple of minutes doing this. So what you're doing, I can see straight away they're getting a bit stickier, and with the amount I've added there, which wasn't a lot, I'd say it was 2 tablespoons, maybe 3, in quite a lot of bait here. I've done lots of bait here today because I'm never going to use this much, but I'm fishing here tomorrow, so they can come in for tomorrow if I've got any left, which is, I would say I will have. So just a few minutes, forming big balls like that. You get 2 hands worth and press it in. And just break the balls up as you do it. There's no lumps, it just goes back to original soaked 2mm pellets. They don't feel wet, by the way, they've dried out, took all that water in. Probably put nearly 3 pints of water in here. It's quite a lot of water, and you can tell by the weight of the bait. And these now, for my method fishing, are just about perfect. So even, you know, regardless of what I catch here today, it's not the bait that's let me down. 100% confidence. We're putting these on a small ICS or a large ICS, depending on how the day goes. With the method mould, they're perfect for my method fishing. And that's not just at Makins. I follow the same routine on whatever fishery I'm on. Obviously with their fishery pellets, but I'm most confident with my own, the Fin Perfect 2mm. But you know, it depends if you're allowed to use them at different fisheries I go to. And all I do then, they're ready. I'll just put them in a smaller bait box, which is on my side tray there, and help myself when I'm fishing out that. And to keep these from drying out, just put a nice towel over them, and that'll stop the sun getting on and drying them out. And that's all there is to pellet prep really for the method. I don't do anything else. That is what I do. I catch loads and loads of fish, win lots of matches by fishing with it, and I'm really confident in the way I've prepared my pellets. So the only other thing now, I mean, this is a really simple day for me, chucking a method, which is what I like doing the best. The only thing to talk about now is a hook bait. Now, anglers that have seen quite a few of my videos know that I'm really confident. In fact, it's the only hook bait to use is an expander pellet. And now the Sonu Pro expanders are what I've used for a long time, but just recently I've changed to these, a hookable expander pellet. Probably down to being a bit lazy, I'd say, because these are a lot easier to prepare. So these are banoffee flavour. The flavour really doesn't bother me. In fact, I don't think it makes a lot of difference to my fishing at all. But we're all different as anglers. Some people swear by them, but I don't. So these are the 4mm size, which is the size I like using the best with an expander pellet. And these are the standard pellet that are in there. But when you purchase a tub of these, they're a bit small, though they say the 4mm, and they probably are, probably a bit smaller. But every time I use them, I just sprinkle a bit of water on. Every time I open them up at the start of the day, just sprinkle a bit of water on them, and you can drain it off. You don't want them too wet. But what that does is just glazes them a bit. And over time, because they've got preservative in these, they swell up slightly. You know, every time you go fishing, I do it every time I fish, and you can see they've swollen up a bit now, but they won't go off because they've got preservative in them, and they still retain that nice spongy texture, which is what you need. And you can see, you know, there's hardly any prep involved. I've not soaked them or kept them in a flask with an ice cube. There's none of that. All I do is take the top off and sprinkle a bit of water in them, and they're all right to use. And that's the way I go on these days. I won't actually be hair rigging these on. Again, sort of later years, I prefer not to use a quick stop, and I simply just hook them on to a 16 kkhb hook. So with that said, I'm just going to get back on my box and get ready for the start. So just a few minutes before I start, here's my setup. It's an elasticated ICS stem on a 30 gram small size method feeder. What I've got as a hook length is 4 inches of 019 power line, which has just been knotless knotted onto a size 16 KKHB hook, which I'll be mounting a pellet on. You could use the cone. There's a nose cone to go on that. I've took it off because what I want to do, because the elasticated feeders are allowed at Makins and always have been, which is the way I prefer to fish the method, I'm just going to simply clip it on, because during the day I'm going to have to swap round. I might have to swap to a larger method. You know, it's middle of July now and the fish are hungry when they want to feed, and that might be the way to go. But I'm going to kick off with the small size, you know, just to see how it starts. So first thing, for the loading, I'm going to put my 4mm expander pellet directly on the hook. So to do that, I'm just going to turn it round so the flat end is between finger and thumb, and I'm going to nick the pellet just circly on the hook like that, remembering to leave a lot of the hook showing, the point especially, because I'm not hair rigging, you're relying on the fish to hook itself. And then holding the feeder in my left hand, and the mould for that matter, I'm going to half fill the mould up and press down the pellets on it. That leaves room for more pellets on the second stage. So this time, get your expander pellet right in the middle, and really particular where that expander pellet needs to sit. And then this time, put as much on as you can, you know, well overflowing the mould, and then just press everything down on it, trapping that expander pellet in the middle. And just pause there for a couple of seconds once you've done that. And then by turning the mould upside down, holding it over your bait tray, it just drops out. And you'll see by that, there's no crack anywhere on the pellets. You know, that's on, it'll stand a bit of a splash when it hits the water. And because I've already talked about the sponginess in the pellets, it'll slowly start to peel off there, and the fish will be on that, or hopefully more than one fish. Gives the fish the competitive edge to eat what's there before the other fish do, and that's really how the method works. So there's the whistle. I aim to start on the shorter chuck, which is to the right hand side of my peg. Hopefully catch there quite quickly, I'm hoping. And depending on what happens, I'm going to have to start exploring the peg. So it always takes a few casts to get dead on with a clip where you're fishing. It's not bad for a start. Bury the line and we're ready. I don't expect to get one first cast. It might even be really slow starting, but we're going to find that out. I've prepared them just how I like to use them. Went on really well using the mould on there, that first cast, and as we speak they'll just be peeling off nicely. It was a good cast, but not really good, because it's the first cast. And you'll find when you're fishing a match, the first half a dozen casts, although I've clipped up with a bomb, it's never quite the same when you cast a loaded feeder. So the first half a dozen casts, you can adjust slightly until you're comfortable with where it's landing. So I think that's long enough. Feeders come back nice and clean. Not really, you know, it's always a good thing to start with a fish, but no, I'm not worried at all at this stage. It's normally once you get casting fairly regular and you can see odd signs of a fish, you've probably caught one, that you start to get in some sort of a rhythm. Right on the money. It's a nice easy chuck, to be fair. There's not a lot of wind that's hampering me. Sorry Tony, I've got one coming over you. Trouble with this pegging's fairly tight here today, so a lot of the fish are going to go to me right. Don't feel really big. So second cast we're in. Hopefully sign of things to come. Just make sure the drag's set right. Always play my fish off the drag. You can adjust it while you're playing a fish to see how you think it needs to be. Remember, we've got elastic in a feeder, so that's doing a great job of playing the fish as well as the rod bent. Never one for bullying the fish. You're obviously boss of it, but you can hear the drag going. It's not set really soft, but the fish has to pull a bit to make it work. You know, not a bad fish after all. Ooh. Right in the bottom lip, favourite place, and first one in the bag. Definitely, yeah. The shorter you can get it, the better. But there's a hook length rule on this fishery, so I'd like it shorter, but obviously cannot do that. Stay with the rule. But the whole point of the method is a self-hooking principle, which makes it so good. That's what it's all about, guys. Right next to that island every time, not now and again. Needs to be there every time. You're building that peg up. Just that small area. That's where most of the mouths are. I'm 100% on this area. I'm not feeding any other peg at the minute. I'll be throwing pellets into my margin later on in the day, but I'm just concentrating on good casting. Everything else is right. So I'll be getting the most of the peg I've drawn by just doing that. So we're an hour in and things are looking really good. Casting hasn't been as good as I hoped. Just up to now. I'm getting a few real good casts in, don't get me wrong, but it's going one way or the other more than I'd like. But having said that, I've got I think it's my 8th fish on in the hour. Now they're not big fish, but not really bothered about that, because when I get a good cast in, then I don't have to wait long for a bite. So I'm obviously still on that first position I talked about, which is the point of the nearest island, and who knows, I might be there all day. The way it's going at the minute, no means to change at the moment, but really the far island is just as a backup to keep me catching if ever this does die. But alright, there's only an hour gone, but there's no signs of that happening at the minute. Yeah, this looks like a ghosty, this fish I've got on at the minute. It's not big fish, and I've not really had a big fish yet. About 5 pounds been as big as I've caught so far. It must be that it's a really shallow point that I'm chucking to. I can see signs of fish there with my casting, you know, some bait there now, so the fish are happy to be there, but they seem a bit on the small side. Still fight well. So yeah, it's looking good. Just sticking to my same routine that I always do when I'm fishing the method. Got my feed pellets dead right, and my expanders, I'm really happy with them. So all it needs after that is good casting. This will be probably the best looking fish I've caught so far. It's looks like a scaleless ghosty, meaning it's just got a line of, yeah, look at that, lovely fish. It's got a line of scales along its back and its lateral line. See the elastic doing the job there, plenty out, that's what you need. So incidentally, that's number 12 Dura Hollow, which I re-elasticate my feeders with. It's the best elastic to be inside a method feeder. So again, not a massive fish, but prettiest fish so far today. It's got a nice mouth, and he's even sticking his fins up for us. So we're 2 hours in, and although I'm catching steady, it's not as rapid as it was the first hour. I seem to have gone off the boil a bit. My casting's improved no end, and I'm hitting the spot just about every chuck now. You see fish there tailing up. Where I am, I've drawn 9A like I said earlier, and I'm chucking to the near point, which is the shallowest point on this lake. So when you know there's fish there, you know, you can see them, which is unlike some of the island margins on this lake, it's quite deep. So it's only catching the fish that you realise that there's plenty of fish there. But even now, I'm looking over there, I can't see anything at the minute, but now and again, when the feeder goes in, it disturbs the fish, or now and again the tail will come out of the water. So there's fish there, and as I say, it's not as rapid as it was the first hour, but if I keep catching like this, then I'm not going to be far away by the end, although we're still early. It's a 5 hour match today, and we're fishing 11 till 4. So not quite halfway in yet, but I'm happy with the way it's going. I've not even used my reserve longer swim yet, so whether or not I'll need to, hopefully not. Normally it happens, don't matter what time of year, that you'll have a good start, and then the middle 2 hours can drop off, even like there's no fish there. But having said that, the last 2 hours, you know, they can come back with a vengeance, more so than the first hour I had. So I'm in no minds of changing position or getting my pole out or anything like that. I'm going to stick at it, and that way there's every chance that the fish will come back on the boil and I'll be catching quite quick again. Well, that's what I'm hoping. I say after 2 hours I'm looking like I've filled one net. I say I've filled it. I don't think there's 60 pound in there. 60 pound is the limit here at Makins. So I'm round about 50, I'd say, might be a bit more. And I've got a couple of fish in my second net. They're still a bit on the small size, but I'm getting the odd better fish in between now. And I hope they'll improve in size as the day goes on. They do scrap. I mean, I'm quite high off the water here and I'm in shallow water in front of me, so that's what's making them a bit more livelier than they should be. I'll get this fish in, I'll give you a quick look at it. It's not massive, but it'll be the main size of fish I'm catching up to now. There's loads of big fish in this lake, you know, which are 30 years old. But fish I'm catching at the minute are these like smaller island fish that are great weight builders early in the match. So it's ideal really. It's all going to plan. I'm still on my same feeder. I've not chucked it in them bushes yet. I've got my casting sorted. I've adjusted the clip a couple of times since I clipped up whilst I've been fishing. And with the right same action, I'm where I need to be every cast. He's about beat now. He's on his side going around in circles. The elastic's doing the job. A bit awkward, nets, keep nets in the way, is it? So that's the average size. It's £5. It's a good size. Don't give you too much trouble. I've just hooked it in the side of the mouth, that, but you can see, give you a quick glimpse of that. Typical late 2 carp, that, island fish. Good, great weight builders. So we're mid-match, and to be honest, it's slowed down more than I'd like. I'm still catching, but what I've got to do, because it's only a 5-hour match, mid-match, it's time to feed my margin and just keep an eye on it there on. And if I see any fish swirling or any signs of fish within an hour and a half to go, then that's the time to fish it. So I'm just going to chuck this out, and I'll do that. Casting's all right, no problem at all. Look at that, right on the money, that. And most of my bites are coming as I'm burying the line. You know, it's straight the way or not at all. Yeah, I've got one on now as I speak. Just what happened, I actually taught that one on, so it's just gone in and I've got a fish on, so we're going to have to wait until I get this fish in to feed me margin. But yeah, if it was a 6-hour match, then I'd wait another hour before I fed it heavy. I've not fed it yet, you know, it's wait until, actually just wasting bait in my opinion, fish aren't there. But once fish start thinking about coming in the margin, then that's an hour, half an hour before that, you want to feed it heavy, and that sudden influx of bait in a margin can bring the fish straight to it. as I say, I've got a bit of room to me left here, so I'm hopeful of catching there. There's a bit going on round and about. I've got Alex filming, who's not far from where I'm going to be feeding, so that's not going to help, but the job's got to be done. But I'm still yet to try my far feeder chuck, and I probably won't need to do that. Or I'm hoping I'm not going to need to do that. Going around the lake, I don't think the guy opposite's catching many, so I'm well in front there, although the way the lake's pegged out today, we've got 6 on each bank. So what that means is that the payout will be 2 on each bank, first and second on each bank. And I can't really see anyone. I can see the water in front of the guys either side of me, and Tony's catching quite well to me right now on his slow sinking float method, which is always a worry this time of year. He does catch a lot of fish on it. And my old mate Lammy up on 6A, which is a brilliant peg. I've not seen him catch a lot, but I've not been looking up there all day. I've seen him have a few, but a bit unsure. And other than that, I can't see anyone. You know, the island's all grown up now, and the guys on the far bank, all I can see is the guy in front of me through the gap. And I can't see anyone on the better pegs down to my right. Whether or not they're catching, I'm not sure. I expect them to be. But I feel it in myself that although I'm catching plenty of fish, they're not got a lot of size to them, and to get the weight I need, it needs to turn on a bit, or failing that, catch some nice big fish in the edge. So I'll get this fish unhooked, and that's what I'm going to do. So nicely hooked in the bottom lip, never ever coming off on my 16 kkh. So I'm just going to drop my feeder in there. So what I've done, I've elevated my bucket off the slab. I've put it on my tackle safe, so it's nice and handy. And what I'm going to do now, I've already measured my distance. I'm using a 9-foot rod, margin rod. I'm going to drop a feeder on it. So what I need to do is put about a pint of pellets in there, just by throwing them in there, and that's about the area my feeder will go in when I'm fishing it to hand. So I'm just going to measure the feeder off the reel and just let it fall off the end of the rod, and it will land right there. As soon as I see, well, I say as soon as I see, you want to give them a bit of time to settle on it, and then as I say, from an hour and a half to the end, it'd be nice to fish there. But you see I'm putting a fair bit of bait in there, got loads of bait done, but them fish ain't going to come in, the bigger fish ain't going to come in if the bait ain't there. So that's quite happy with that. And what I'm going to do from now on, while I'm fishing the feeder over to my point, I'm just going to keep an eye on that, see any signs of fish swirling or moving about there, then it won't be long before I'm on it. So for now I'm just going to plug on. I'm still catching quite well, to be honest, but the fish aren't very big. But it might all spark off soon. You know, we're getting later on in the match now, and it could well improve. The fish might get bigger, or I might catch at a faster rate. I'm doing exactly the same as I started, to be fair. Plenty of bait in the mould, and castings, I'm at ease with my casting now. It's going exactly where I want it to. Just short of that bush on the point. A duck. Yeah. I was in two thoughts to put a bigger feeder on, because we're catching these small fish. Sometimes there's just enough bait there for the smaller size of fish over where I'm fishing. And the bigger feeder, you know, might bring some bigger fish in. Yeah, but see, it's going around most chucks. Got another one on now. So I don't think I'm doing a lot wrong. It's just unfortunate the fish are not the size I'd hope. But most of the time, if catching's quite steady like I am, then you're there or thereabouts by the end of the match. Ideally, we just want some bigger fish to show up down in that margin later on. So it's just weighing up the options I've got. Really, I don't think I'm going to need to go on that long chuck like I was suggesting earlier. It's going to be over at this near point or down the edge from now on, I think. That's the way it's playing anyway. Some of these fish are a bit bigger, but again, this isn't average 4 to 5 pound, I'd say. Nice fish to catch. Not moaning by any means. I'm really enjoying it. Great days fishing. The sun's not too hot. We've got a bit of a breeze on us, so not like sweating or anything like that. It's really pleasant. Just want the fish to get a bit bigger or come a bit faster, whatever. Lovely fish, look, nice mirror. They're not giving me, for some reason, as the day goes on, the fish don't seem to want to fight as much, whether the water's warming up. It really is like the bath, the temperature of the water. I think that doesn't give them the energy that when the water's a bit cooler. So there you go, bottom lip again. Getting bite straight away, or I'm not. It's one of them. If you don't get a bite within that 2 minute window, then really it's reel it in and chuck it out again, which is pretty standard. Nothing unusual there when at this time of year we're good casting. So a single 4mm expander, just working perfect really. But the guy Tony next to me is he's having a few now. It's getting me a bit worried because on his method, this slow sinking float method, the fish are bigger. They're bigger than the feeder fish, so he could well catch me up. But I'm trying not to think about that. Just concentrating on really good casting, like that one there. I hope to be a one on there within a minute. It's interesting to note at this time, although we've got a ripple really close in, it's flat. The rest of the lake's flat. And although it makes no difference to what you catch, it's taking quite a while for the line to sink. I'm just burying the rod under the water. And you see the line coming from both ends as it sinks. But there's nothing you can do about that. And as I say, it doesn't affect the catch, the speed I'm catching at. Because if you got a bite, which happened on that last fish, it just pulls the line under for you. But you're just down a bit longer with the rod under the water burying the line than you are normally. That's the only thing. So I'm just going to keep looking down there. There's a bit of a ripple down there, but it's a shallow margin, which, you know, they might not even come in with it. We're finishing at 4, you know, it's probably the last half hour there might be some big fish there. The fish are, you know, proper things down in that margin at the end. So I'm hoping to finish off there. Now and again the fish, the pellets pack down, you know, as you keep helping yourself filling the feeder up, the pellets, because it's got binder in them, they want to pack down into the bait box, so now and again it's worth just shaking the bait box up so they're all nice, damp, heavy and fluffy again. And perfect, absolutely perfect to go on the feeder they are. So I've not had a bite within this time. So within another 30 seconds I need to reel that in and chuck it out again. It's no good waiting for a bite if you're not going to get one. And it's unlikely I'm going to get a bite this chuck. So in fact I need to do it now. Yeah. It's just the feeder going in. That's why I've had the thought of putting a bigger feeder on, but I don't think there's any need, because as long as I keep my casting good, then I'm going to still be catching decent enough fish regular. I'd really like to know what's been caught on the lake really, but without being able, because everything's grown up now, vegetation wise, I don't really know what's going on. So as soon as the feeder hits the water, rod down on the rest and fishing with the rod pointing at the feeder, mainly for accuracy and the length of line I'm fishing with. And I can just see my line burying, landed a bit short of that cast. There's a fish on it, I've just seen a fish turn on the feeder there. And it's on, look. It's just how it's panning out really. If you don't get a bite within that minute and a half, it's time to bring it back in. That fish I've seen turn on the feeder is the fish I've got on now. Most fish have gone to my right, which is probably annoying Tony, to my right, but there's not a lot I can do about it. Although he's fishing up in the water, it's not really interfering with the way he's fishing. I'd sooner him come straight in, but there's not a lot I can do about that. It's just the way it is. I'm happy. All things are working. The fish are a bit small, that's all. Coming in easy, look, it's like a bream. It's obviously not a bream, but the way it's coming in, until you get it within landing net range, it's just wallowing in under the surface. No stress on the angler at all. Keep the bend in the rod and just nodding his way in. I'd say I'm approaching, getting up near £60 in my second net now. So, you know, I'm looking at £90, £100 halfway through. Should I be worrying? Probably not. There he comes, look, just under the surface. No intention of fighting hard yet. It's funny because the early fish, you know, they went mental. But these aren't doing. No stress to the fish whatsoever. That bit of elastic's doing all the work. Not much of it out, it's about 6 inches of it out now, and the rod's not really bent too much. And when they see the net they want to take a bit of a dive, but like he has done there, but now he's thinking about going. It's just the net that startles them. Can't be avoided. He's got his second wind now. Let's try and get him this time. In you go. Hey. So yeah, I'm happy, and we'll catch up in a bit. I've got to come down here now, they're there, mate. So we're just catching this fish over at the point. I've got some fish down the margin now. So I'm going to retire this rod just for now. I'm just going to have a look, but time's moving on. We've got an hour and a bit, which is the ideal time. To see what's what down the margin. I have. Oh, ducks just come at the right time. Amazing. So, just as I decide to come down the margin, the ducks have arrived, which probably ain't going to make a lot of difference, but with it being really shallow there, it's definitely not going to help. So what I'm doing, I'm just measuring it to the reel and just letting it fall off the end of the rod. And I've got my rod high, it's really important. Got the rod high and the line slack leading down to the feeder. Try and put my net there to get them ducks away. I can't believe just at the minute where I've decided to go down the side, I've got half a dozen young ducks. They're quite large, they've been about probably 2 or 3 months old, but they're right on my peg now and obviously can't see any fish there. I've got to keep feeding it, and that's why the ducks are put my net there and see if that makes any difference, but it's going to scare the fish as well. The ducks couldn't have timed it any better. There's a fish short here. I'm just going to slacken off my drag, because if you get a bite on this it'll want to run, it'll be a bigger fish. But what an absolute nightmare. I can't see him going. There's fish there, I've got one, look. So first drop down the edge. I just wish the ducks would disappear. It's going to be a bigger fish than all them I've caught on the tip over at the point. And this is the way you can get back if you think you're behind. Good, the ducks are on the way out. I think this fish has disturbed them. Hopefully they won't come back. So that didn't take long, even though there were ducks there. Hopefully if I catch down there from now to the end, then I should have this in the bag. It's bigger than the fish over there, but it's not massive. Absolute great little rod this is for this method. It's only 9 foot. And that's what you want, 8 to 9 foot in my book, and then it's within throwing range of your 2mm pellets that you're throwing in. The ducks will want to come back. I'm going to have these for the rest of the day, I think. I just have my net there. But the importance of having your rod high and leaving the line slack to your feeder is everything. Remember, we're fishing an elasticated feeder, so you're relying on the fish to hook itself against the feeder. You don't really want to be fishing in line fishing like this. You're not getting the same hooking effect from the fish. But have that drag set really light so the fish can run off after it's hooked, and there's no problems of getting broke that way. So there's a nice fish. First drop in the edge. So they're always better conditioned, these edge fish. They don't get caught as often. I'm not going to feed at the minute because the ducks are going that way. So first margin fish, it's a lot bigger than I've been catching over there. Well, it's not, we can get bigger than that yet. So following that fish, another handful of 2 mils and one on top of it. You got to keep, once they're there, you got to keep them there. Say again? It's a 20 gram, yeah, I'll explain that now. So for the margin, I've just gone down 10 grams in the weight of the feeder, but the same size, small. There's no need to use a big feeder down the edge because you're throwing bait on top of it. Plenty of bait in that mould like we have been doing. See the fish moving. Could be a good end to the match, this. So what I'm doing, just not moving the rod, I'm just letting it drop off the end of the rod, right where my 2 mils are landing. I'm putting the rod there. It can't be pulled in unless I'm really slow, because the rings and the reel are going to prevent it going in anyway. But because your rod's high, keep an eye on the line, and you pick the rod up before your tip moves, or you should do. But it's quick. It's, you know, when the fish are there, you can get a bite really quick like that. Got another one. And again, it'll be a good sized fish. Really is a winner, guys, this way of fishing, and not a lot of people know about to do it. No, it's not as big as I thought, but still a nice fish all the same. So you can get them in a lot quicker. They don't seem to fight like the smaller fish at the island. So as soon as that's in the net, follow it with a couple of handfuls of 2 mils. Can't see anything there at the minute, but we'll soon come back to that. Amazing what you can catch on this 4mm expander, just hooked on a 16 hook. I'm not seeing anything at the minute. Gives you great confidence when you can see a swirl or signs of fish down the margin. Sometimes, you know, they're not easy to catch. but these are having it. So just off the end of the rod, I'm not even moving the rod other than dropping it down when the feeders touch the water. Well, look at that. I thought that was a bite then, but it was a liner. Took off straight away. That's how quick it can be. Just be ready. You know, it's no good pouring a cup of tea out or anything. Your rod needs to be hovering above the rod. Your hand needs to be hovering above the rod. And just watch the line. The line's really slack going down into the water, and it'll just run out before the tip goes round. There's one there now again. I had a big liner there, which has probably moved the feeder and upset the setup. So it's not going to be in long, this isn't. I need to come out. Should have had a bite by now. That bait's still on. This time. What can really pay with this type of fishing, and I'm going to do it now, is to overwet your method mix. Because you're not casting it a long way, it can be really soft. Works a bit like sloppy paste. So always keeping an eye on the rod. Just going to overwet this a bit. The softer it is, the more the faster they can eat it, and the more they want to eat it. Plus it has dried out a bit, because it's a really warm day. Got a duck down there at a minute. Yeah, it's just, you know, you can imagine big fish swirling around the feeder. Don't take long for them just to hover over the feeder. Scared that duck, a fish just scared that duck then, and upset the setup. So it's a lot wetter now. It's still quite sticky with a binder in it, so I'm not giving it lots of pressure when I make the mould up, and the fish can eat it easy. So this feels like a proper margin fish. It's the third one I've had down there. I waited a bit longer for it, and the ducks are back. In fact, there's one there now. But even when you got a fish on, you got to keep throwing bait in. The ducks are loving it. Look at them. I love using this rod. Just feels so nice in the hand when you got a big fish on. You probably hear the reel's clutch spinning. Really important to have it slack, else there's a chance of getting broken on the bite. So don't have to rip off with it. It's about ready for the net. Not as big as I thought. It's a nice fish. Oh, I'm not sure. 130. So I don't want to drop the fish. It's a bit dodgy, but it's £7 that is. And they're there now. I see them swirling. Trouble when you get a bit of twisted line when using the drag. As the fish tears off, it spins the line on the drag, but can't be avoided. It just means that you're messing about untangling it sometimes. Now they're here. I mean, it's not, they come and go. There's not many fish there now, but when I was playing that fish, I could see a couple of big tails. But it should only get better as the day wears on. As long as I keep giving them what they want, plenty of 2 mils. So we've got 15 minutes remaining, and it's not really happened in the margin. There's plenty of fish there, and it seemed like they're easy to catch. Well, easier to catch as soon as I went on it, and they've not really been the size I'd like. This is about my 8th fish down there, but it's not a lot bigger than what I was catching over at the point of the island. But I can see some big tails down there, but for some reason they're not the fish that are picking up the bait. But I'm going to stick at it now. It's no good going back over at the island for the last 15 minutes. There's fish down here, but it seems like I'm only tricking the smaller fish for some reason, and the ducks have actually totally done me head in, because they've not left me this last hour, which is unsettling the fish, with it only being shallow down there. But I can see a tail as I'm unhooking this fish now. A big tail, you know, fish the size that have not caught down there. But I'm going to carry on. I might get a sudden run of fish in this last 10 minutes. Can only hope, but I'm quite sure Tony to my left, on his slow sinking method, that he catches loads of fish down here on. He's a right threat in the summer months. Has overtook me. But I might be wrong, I can't see him. I'm just hearing a lot of splashing. There's been a lot of splashing. Sure, although Tony's got one on now to my left, I think I'm comfortably in front of him. But it will be decided at the weigh-in. So I'm going to plug on down here till the end, hopefully catch a couple more alright sized fish. I've had a great day, to be honest, really brilliant. I've caught fish all day long. This has been tricky, that's all, whereas I'm expecting it to save me day, which it often does. The ducks are left me now. I think just me talking has scared them off, and I will say that because it's a video today, no problem. But imagine if I sit here like a mouse, quiet as a mouse, thinking about what I'm doing, and I caught more fish, without a doubt. There's got another one. But they've really not been the size, you know, I mean, that's a decent fish, but it's still not the late 2 margin fish that this method's so good at. It's strange, you can catch 2 or 3 on the trot and then you'll go 15 minutes without catching one. I'm sure if we had it's only been a 5-hour match today, but if we had another hour, then things would be different. The margin peg just gets stronger as the time goes by, as it does with most venues. It's not just here that happens. The glebe for one just goes mental in that last hour. But I can't complain. The amount of fish I've caught here, I've had a great day, as I normally do on this fishery. Fishing right well at the moment. It's just sorting out them better fish. That makes a difference. Alright, I've had 9, I'm going to have 9 or 10 margin fish here, but they've just not been the size I'd have hoped for. They're down there, but they're not taking it. I mean, you can't moan at fish that size, but it's still not the double figure fish that there's so many of in this lake. This, well, let's get this feeder in first. The ducks are gone. They're still here. Look at that big swirl there. So you might wonder why I'm not fishing the pole down the edge on this lake. Well, over the years, this last hour and a half or so, fishing like this has won me so many matches. And not only that, my track record on this lake speaks for itself. I've won the most matches on here over the years than any other angler. John Adamson, he was you know, runner up to me, I'd say. He won lots of matches, John did. He's now moved to Norfolk, so we've not got him running the matches anymore, which is a great shame. So he used to run a brilliant match for over 21 years, believe it or not. He's run matches on this fishery and run them so well. The report on the Thursday after the Wednesday tells the match exactly how it was. So rather than fish a pole, a lot of the margins are deep on this lake, and you know what it's like when fishing a margin and it's deep. You get lots of liners and foul hookers. Well, with this type of method, you don't get that. All you get a few liners on your slack line that's not disturbing the fish, or you get a bite. So that's why it's so good. And I'm confident with it. As I say, I've won so many matches in that last hour and a half by fishing it, that it's a thing I do. And I really like this way of fishing. You see that tip rip round, you know, with a fish under the rod tip. It's really exciting fishing. So we've got about 5 minutes left, something like that. Hope to catch one more fish down here, and we'll see what the weigh-in decides who's won, really. I'm definitely up there in contention, but every time I look to my right, there's ripples from Tony's fish as he's netting fish now. I was well in front of him the first half of the match, but I think he's caught me up. But I might be wrong. I'd say weight wise, I've got something like 150 pound. Must have somewhere there, maybe a bit more. Absolutely brilliant day's fishing, especially finishing off catching fish in this margin. But it's a great weight on here, and it wins most matches, a weight of that, but it probably won't today. Let's go in again. It's got one. That was more luck than judgment. I was just picking the rod up then to go again, and I've got a fish on. Must have been that split second before I picked the rod up, the fish has took the bait. And it's charging off, this is. Yeah. So as the day's gone, I've read it perfectly, to be honest. I mean, I've drawn this peg before and won off it, doing similar to what I've done here today. But I didn't think the near point where I've caught most of my fish earlier on would last as long as it did. So I've had no need to go on the longer chuck later on. And I've had a great time, I don't know, catching 20 or so carp over there. Some alright fish, but nothing massive. This is probably, as normally happens, later in the day the bigger fish turn on. This might be the biggest fish of the day. But what I was saying, I've not actually had to go on the reserve line on the further chuck, because as soon as I fed that mid-match, within 10 minutes I seen a swell there. Maybe I should have done it earlier, but a lot of the times you think that, but it's only like now when the fish are really having it in the margin, when it's, you know, it's worth fishing it. The saying goes that you should never leave feeding fish when I'm catching well over there, which I was, but when you see big tails down the margin, then you need to give it a try. So forget, this is the biggest fish of the day, believe it or not, and it's took within the last 5 minutes of the match. So this is going to give me an extra £10 on my weight, which could come in real handy, that could. What a lovely fish. Easily the biggest fish of the day. Only just fits in mid-landing net, that does. Always be wary when you net a fish of this size. Don't try and pick it up by your handle, because you're going to break your net handle. That's a great fish to finish on. I'm not going to have time to go in again, I'm sure of it. That's it, just heard the whistle go. So I've got time to show you how big this fish is. The last thing I want to do is drop it in. You can see how big that is. What a lovely fish. That's what we're expecting half of the fish to be this size down there, but it's not happened. Absolute fantastic day's fishing. I just hope I've won. Yes, I'm happy. I've won the match with £198, which was more than I thought, and it's been fairly close. Tony to my right weighed 151, but his splashing were really getting to me. Not only the fish he were catching, but it's really shallow in the margin, and the fish were making the splashing noise in his keep net. So Tony was second, and Lammy on my left has weighed £120 for third. So quite convincing. My plans worked, exactly what I said I were going to do before the start. I've done that. Could I have had more than that? Could I have had £200? Definitely, I think. I've come off the long chuck at the right time, could see fish down here, and I caught quite well as soon as I tried it. But I had a spell of half an hour, you know, there were only half an hour to go. I've had a spell of half an hour where I couldn't really sort it out. But I'm blaming the ducks, not my fault. The ducks have been here, you see them here now, they've not left me alone. And once they'd gone, there were 3 really small ducks with the mother looking after them, and they were diving in my peg in the margin, which I think's, you know, cost me a few more pounds, not a lot, but it didn't matter anyhow because I've won. So there you go guys, hope you've enjoyed the video and maybe catch you on the next one.